Hello there, we're in Windenburg today. It's quite British, although the weather isn't very British. It's not grey enough, it's not raining, and this pond doesn't have any crisp packets floating in it, so that's wrong. It's a very upper class gate, so we must be somewhere in the south. But today I'm going to be building a big underground house. So if you enjoy moderately decent builds and made up on the spot commentary, do subscribe. So this was originally actually going to be the mental health house that I built in my previous build. So I recorded this sort of shell part of it before I did my last video. But I realized as I was going through it that I, number one, hadn't figured out how I was actually going to do this underground part of the build yet. But also that considering I didn't really know what I was doing at this point, that it was maybe being a little too ambitious with the size of what I was trying to do. So originally, yeah, this was going to be like half in a hill with just the bedroom area in a hill and the rest of it not underground. But since I've done that mental health house, I came back to this lot and I just thought, you know what? What if I just do a house that's entirely underground? Can I do that? Is the game going to allow me with the number of foliage items that I'm probably going to need to place here? As you can see, I'm a little bit in this replay, not quite sure what I'm doing. What I ended up going for was a foundation just built with a single line. I had tried with platforms, I tried with walls. I know already that the terrain is not going to go up to the walls, it's not going to go up to the platforms. But I don't know why, but every time I just think, you know, like maybe it will this time. And I try it and I know it's not gonna work, but I'm like, what if this time when I press the terrain brush, it's just actually gonna go up to the wall and it's gonna save me so much time and effort. Of course that didn't happen, that never happens. So I was just trying out a few things here. But yeah, I've gone with this foundation as a sort of exterior ledge to use as a guide to where I want the terrain height to be. And then I didn't want to pull the terrain up too much, so in order to get the wall height to be the same level, I've just lowered the terrain here a bit. And I'm, again, just lining out the shape of the house. This is a bit of a weird shape of a house, to be honest. I wasn't quite sure what to do in order to do an underground house, because it's not going to be typical outline of a house. So I was sort of placing this foundation and placing these walls as to, like, almost thinking more about where I wanted the hills to be, and I knew I wanted the hills to sort of be on both sides with a sort of dip, sort of valley looking thing in the middle. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm like building the terrain up into these two sort of, I mean, it sort of looks a little bit like a Space Invader, doesn't it? But that's where there's going to be like bedrooms with these little corridors going into the main area, and I want the bedroom areas to be on both sides. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm sort of building up around them. I'm using these platforms. I didn't realize what I was going to do with these. I just knew that I didn't want it to be completely just blank terrain around the build. So I just sort of built this ledge, and I don't know if I wanted it to be a sort of like balcony area or whether I even wanted to build a single sort of like outpost house looking thing on top of the hill. In the end, I just leave it sort of quite natural, but that's what I've done there. And I'm placing these same sort of roofs in that I used in my previous build. So we've seen this before, I'm just copying myself. Come on, Tom, think of something new to do. You've done this already. but I liked how this looked in the last build, so I'm doing the same thing. And then obviously at the end, the idea is that it's just these sort of aerial glass windows that are visible, and the rest of the build is going to be terrain. So to try and match that in, I've just placed this grass swatch on top of the roofs. And then I'm going to go around with this this flower. It's not a flower. I don't know why it's in the flower section. Like, point out a single flower in this. There's none. It's just grass. It just offends me. Place it in the like shrub section. But we're using this shrub flat swatch to line around the edges like I did in my previous build. And I'm going to do that all the way around. I just show you me doing this bit so you can sort of see what I'm doing here. I'm just floating it up with the 9 key, leveling it up with this gap in between the terrain and the house. And here I've just gone round and done the whole thing. So the idea here is obviously that there's this gap so that when I drop down into the house on, you know, press the down arrow to go down a level, there's not a lot of foliage in the way. There's just going to sort of be this outline of green that's quite neat. But I'm just smoothing the terrain around here, figuring out where I want these hills to be. I wanted this to be very organic, sort of flowing looking with the terrain. I didn't want it to just be like this random giant hill. But I've gone through and I've gone through all the foliage, picked out a sort of palette that I want to use, trying to think what's going to be best in order to build these hills up. And what I found was actually this concrete planter thing, which isn't in the build mode plants, it's actually in the decorative plants, but it's got this nice hedge look. So I'm just placing this around, sort of seeing where it naturally wants to place while going up this slope, and not making a huge amount of adjustments in terms of the height of them, just an occasional 9 key to float one up if it needed it. But just spinning them around so that the texture of this looks more varied and organic, and rather than just like a repeated texture over and over. And then to cover up the concrete base things, I'm just going to use a combination of the hedge and the small sort of, what's this called? I don't know, it's bulbous bush, I think it's called, or something like that. And then I didn't want this divide between like light green and dark green, so I've just blended this in a bit by floating up some of these bushes to sort of create more of a gradient between the greens, make it look a bit more natural. And then I'm obviously trying to take care while I'm floating these up next to the actual walls that it's not going to peek through into the house. I think at the end there was an occasional bit of overlap, an occasional leaf coming through, which is mildly annoying, but considering there's so many plants, it wasn't too bad. So I've gone around and I've done the same thing on all of these slopey hill areas. Again, I've done the same thing at the back. I've used all the same technique here, so I've done nothing different. I just thought, you know, you don't want to watch me do the same thing over and over again. And now what I wanted to do here to sort of keep the terrain even more varied and have a bit more of I wanted it to be a bit more hilly than what it was giving. So I used this hedge to sort of choose a height as to how high I wanted this hill to go. And then I want to build this hill up on top of one of these sort of like bedroom areas. So again, I'm using this bush. What was quite difficult here was there's obviously the gap now between the house and the terrain, and I didn't want to place these so that if for example I floated them up through that gap, then I think there would be quite an overhang of foliage when it came to dropping down to the level below, and I wanted that to be quite clear when I'm dropping down to actually see inside the house. So I was placing them as close to the edge as I can do, and floating a couple up just to make sure that edge stays quite clean when we drop down, and then outlining them again with some of these hedges. It's very therapeutic, to be honest, doing this. I know that I don't see a lot of people doing a lot of crazy stuff with the trees and stuff in this game, or the foliage even. But I love getting one piece and just placing it over and over again and seeing what I can come up with. I don't know, I get to turn my brain off and just, I don't know, think about anything I want to while just placing the same hedge piece over and over again and sort of autopilot creating something that looks organic. And I think it came out quite nicely. I'm moving the camera around to make sure that like from a horizontal level it looks like it's flowing up like a hill and it's not got angular pieces in it or anything like that. But yeah, that's all I'm doing here really. It's just going around feeling this out. Again, I'm going to use all the same pieces that I've used for all the other bits. It's just that I'm floating them up more in this one to get them above the terrain level, but outlining it the same with these bushes. And I'm trying to cover this gap as best I can without using too much foliage that again is gonna overhang the actual interior if we go there. Because obviously the problem is if I place, I want the plants placed on top of the roof, because as soon as it swaps over to the terrain, it's then classed as being, you know, on the first level, and it's not going to disappear when I drop down. And I wanted as much of this to just vanish from the camera, from view, to reveal what's underneath when you drop down to the level below. But again, I'm just blending it in, floating up a few plants, getting those greens to mix together. But yeah, it says underground, but there's not a huge amount of terrain use actually being used here because the game doesn't want me to. It's mostly just plants. So we've changed to morning for some reason. But I've gone around and I've done what I want to do. I've added a few sort of like flowers and things to blend this in. I just wanted this to look very natural, sort of meadowy as best as I could. So that's what I've done here. And I'm going to go and I'm going to change these stairs because I just put some like wooden ones in. I tried with these brick ones, but I thought, you know what, this is going to look nicer if it just looks very overgrown naturey. So I'm just going to cap these off with a few more of these flat flowers that aren't flowers. But yeah, just going through and doing that to try and blend these steps in a bit. And then I think we're going to move on to adding some roofs. Yeah. So I just wanted to, again, sort of blend the hill in a little bit more. But I didn't want to mess around with terrain and plants. So I just used the roofing pieces here, made them the green natural grass swatch that's, I think, eco lifestyle. And then we're just going to make a little path here. So the idea with this path is I wanted it to be sort of quite neat and uniform close to the house, and then it gets a lot more sort of like wild, concealed as it gets towards the road. I like the idea of this house being very hidden, not obviously there if you're someone who's just like passing by on the road or walking by. So the actual nice sort of pathway doesn't start until you're a little bit down the hill, a little bit out of sight of the rest of the world. I want to be concealed. I think that was sort of my idea with this build, is to just continue on with my current desire to hibernate through the cold and dark season. And the idea of being in a house like this is very appealing right now. But we've gone inside. Just using some basic like wood swatches, and then I'm gonna wall out this bedroom area. This is gonna be very large, very fancy. This is a build that's for those Sims who know how to exploit motherload. It's not gonna be an easy to obtain house, but I didn't care. I just wanted to see how far I could go with this, how fancy I could make it. So I've gone with these sort of stone swatches. I want to sort of go with the fact that this is underground. In the designs that I use, very naturey, stony sort of textures and things like that. But this bathroom's a little bit inspired by one that was in a villa that I went to in Portugal. And then I've just sort of modified it using, as I said, these stony swatches, things like that. I like this sink. Again, a lot of this is CC. Yeah, I'm very into my CC right now. I love that it has all these little pieces in it that you can sort of put together in more of a custom way. And then obviously I'm just using a few other bits. I've got the Spade, I think that's Spade sort of table that I'm putting underneath here to make this custom like countertop thing. Gonna shove in a couple toilets. I put 2 in there because I think the one that doesn't have a back, I'm thinking that that's like a bidet. A bidet. I don't know how you say that. I don't know where the emphasis goes, but you know what I mean. Very fancy, so you can have a nice clean bum. But and then I wanted to make this closet area using these sort of modular closet pieces. I've not really used those either for actually building a closet. I've used them for like all sorts of random other things, but I'm actually going to use them for their intended purpose here. And then going into the bedroom, getting some green in here, some green swatches. Again, I'm using these modular pieces. Like I said, I rarely use these to actually make a cupboard. I tend to just use them as anything else, which is what I've done here. I'm using these corner pieces to almost like make more of a modified wall shape. And then I have these sort of plaster window frames that I end up using quite a lot in this build. I realized as I was going along, because this is all underground, there's almost like no windows. Obviously, the only windows in most of it are just that roof piece. So the rooms were looking like something was missing, and it was obviously the windows. Like, we're used to seeing rooms with windows in them. And I was like, how can I amend this? So I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to have to use a load of wall art, a load of paintings, wall decorations and things to try and amend this. A few more wall textures, maybe some panels and things like that. But then I just made an attempt here of using these sort of window frames, put them, and I don't know why, but I really like the look of them, as if they were like these faux windows, as if whoever built this has, you know, realized like, oh, houses normally have windows, there's something missing here, we're just going to make these sort of like artistic looking faux windows. And I really ended up liking how these looked as I went around. So I've done these throughout in a few different like colors and swatches and things. And I think it looks nice compared to if I just shoved a load of wall art on there and things. And then, yeah, this little seating area outside. There's a curtain and things you can pull across. I wanted that whole area to sort of be like the bedroom, but split into different sort of modular rooms. And then this is going to be a corridor. So there's going to be 2 bedroom areas, one on this side we've just done, and then another one on the other side, which is going to be quite similar. But I wanted them to be connected to the main area with these sort of nature corridors. I don't know why. I've just always had this dream that if I had like a dream house or built my own house, I would connect rooms in different sections with these like nature corridors. I guess because I don't like going outside that much. It's a way of like bringing the outside indoors. So that's what I've tried building here. And I like the idea of just walking through there, sort of having this nice little chill nature area, and then you're in your bedroom. So here is the main area, and I've sort of laid out a few walls and things to try and plan out what I wanted to do here. I wasn't quite sure, so I did that off camera because there was a lot of changing going on. But this is the main area. It's going to be like living room, kitchen, dining room, and then a sort of seated area as well, near that nice large window where lots of light's going to come in. Obviously there's these windows at the back. I wanted this to have some light and sort of ability to see outside. I didn't want it to be just like a dungeon underground or anything, but I wanted to make sure that where you can see out is at the back rather than at the front where people are going to be walking by and driving by and there's a main road and things. I wanted it to be nice and private and concealed in the areas where you can actually go and you're more like on actual ground level rather than underground. But I'm going through placing these doors. I think they're the Harry ones from his spoon set, I believe. And also some by Charlie Pancake's Maple Creations. But yeah, the custom doors are all really nice. So I'm going to make this area here, which is going to be a pool. I thought because this is underground and I have so much space, I wanted to sort of build fitness into it. I didn't know what to use all the rooms for, and I was like, you know what? This is obviously a very rich person house. Cannot relate. But they're gonna have like a pool, and I'm gonna put a gym in there next to the pool as well. So you're gonna have nature in here. You're gonna have health in here. I feel like you could almost just stay in this house and not leave, and you've sort of got everything here that you would need. Which, again, I would love that. That would be great. But yeah, just lighting this pool up a bit. As I go through and we do these rooms one by one, obviously because it's such a big house, I'm sort of just going to show you the main layouts, the main architecture, and the main sort of like hard furnishings in each room. I'm not going to go through and show you all the cluttering. I'm going to do that off camera at the end because it was just so large and I'm so back and forth with my cluttering that I think it would have made the video too long and you'd probably get motion sick. So I left that out. But yeah, I'm just putting through windows. I think these are Harry ones again, maybe? I'm not sure, but I liked these ones. I like the sort of thin vertical shape of them. I like the idea too that you can walk through this corridor area, this very large corridor area, and sort of peek into the pool. Maybe be like, oh, maybe I'll go for a swim later. Or maybe I won't, because I don't want to get wet. Up to you. I have to be in the mood for a swim. So moving on to the kitchen. I'm actually mixing 2 different kitchen sort of packs here. I think one of them's by Felix and Harry, and the other one is the David's Apartment one by Pierre Sim. But I liked how the wood in one of them, and then also the drawers in another look. So the white is kind of one, and then the upper shelves that are just wood are another pack that I've mixed together. And then this is going to be a pantry area because I also have the Pierre Sim pantry pack that I've never actually used to make a pantry. So the theme of this build is like, why don't I use packs and actually use them for their intended purpose today? So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I wanted this nice little window seating area. It's all open plan. I really enjoy open plan. It's sort of very communal area for whoever's living here. You can all have your sort of separate spaces, do your own thing, but you're also sort of in each other's company and too, which is my favorite way of hanging out with people. Don't talk to me, just be here. That's that's how I like hanging out with people. So yeah, I've got some platforms on different levels for a bit more visual interest. And then I obviously put in a fireplace. If this is in the UK, they're gonna need a fireplace because it's cold, even though you can't tell by the weather right now. Sinking that down a bit with the tool mod. And also I've used this platform here to sort of add a TV, which is, I think, is a little Deka TV from, I think it's called the H&B pack or something like that. I just really like the shape of it. And this modular sofa, which is really a really nice one. It looks really comfy. I used this one in my last build as well. And again, here I am with the cupboards that I'm using as bookshelves. So this is just going to be a small bathroom in the middle. Obviously the bathroom in the bedroom is a little bit far. If you're sat in the living room, you might not want to walk like 500 steps to go to the toilet. So I thought I better put one in the middle here. I used some images from Pinterest as inspiration for this build. And I was a little bit baffled, I have to say, because I don't know when Pinterest just became like an AI platform, but like 90% of the images on Pinterest were AI. It was quite disappointing. I was like, because they all just start looking the same, and I don't want to have images all looking the same. I like to sort of mix and match, but they were all looking like the same AI image, so I was really struggling to actually find some references that weren't AI to try and get some inspiration, so that was a bit annoying. I don't know if I'll use Pinterest that much anymore. It's gone downhill. Sort your shit out, Pinterest. This is going to be a little study sort of work area. I had this idea that maybe whoever lives in this house has a study, works from home, maybe owns a business. Very upper class things for affording a home like this. And this is the little work area. So you've got the main desk. Again, I've made this very modular with all sorts of different pieces. Now, I wasn't sure what to do with this wall and ended up doing it off camera. But it's quite simple. It's just some window edge pieces, some ivy, and then these bookshelf sort of panel things. And this is going to be the gym. I wanted a very natural gym feeling, motivation, get some of that nature motivation in here while you're working out. All of those weights there. I wouldn't use any of them because they look too big. I'd maybe use the small ones that are on the floor, but you know, at least they're there. You can pretend you can lift that heavy, can't you? Like, oh yeah, I use these, they're just not on the pole right now. Cluttering up a bit with all of these pieces. There's a lot of CC pieces here, which are also functional because I've got the like fitness functional mod pack or whatever it's called. I don't know. I never know what the bloody mod packs are called. I try. It's but yeah, they're functional. Little skipping rope if you feel like cardio that day. And then I'm just gonna put in a little fitness mat here. So there's so many things you could do in here. You like, they can jump on that box. They can actually do pull-ups on the pull-up bar. I think the only thing they can't actually use is that like horse vault thing. That's why I've just shoved it in the corner. So it's not accessible. And then I liked these sort of leaning against the wall mirrors that I've put in as well. Because gyms always have mirrors in them, don't they? But I wanted this to look a bit more like homely gym, so I use sort of homely looking mirrors. Now we're over to the other bedroom area. I'm just going to show you this last bedroom that I've done. And then I do the bathroom and the sort of closet area, but I make them very similar to the other side, so I'll just sort of glimpse over those after. But I wanted this bedroom to be a bit different. I've gone with slightly more earthy tones, less nature, more earthy. And here you can see I've done a very similar closet space with different colours and a very similar bathroom as to what I've done on the other side too, with just some slightly different colours. And that's all of the sort of hard furnishing done. So I've gone through and I've cluttered this. I've added a few more details and things. We're going to go inside in these cinematics and I'll show you all of the things I've added to sort of finish this build off. So as you can see already in the corridor, I've done these planty little areas, added more of those wall pieces that look like windows and some skylights, which are from a mod pack too. They're easy to place. You just put them on the roof and they just work as windows, let the light through. I left the swimming pool quite plain because obviously the point of the swimming pool is the swimming pool, but I've just added some like grids and things, some plants, some areas to sit because the light's coming through. Obviously some nice lights in there as well. The gym's sort of quite similar. I I think I just added 1 or 2 pieces in this, but you can see I've added like plugs and things to the walls. I like the realism that adding light switches and plugs and things adds to a build. I don't know why. It's always the first thing I do when it comes to cluttering. This little reading nook I like the idea of. It's just somewhere nice and cozy if you want to get away, but you're sort of still in the open plan bit a little bit. Added some books to the bookshelf and gone into the living room, and I've just put a few like cushions and things, a few plants above the TV, a few bits around the TV. I didn't want to over clutter this because obviously it's quite a big build. I've used a lot of plants. I was worried, you know, if I place too many things, my computer's going to just explode. But again, in the kitchen, just a few bits and pieces that I think really pull this together. Some fruit, a book, you know, a couple of things on the side, some dishes that have been washed. Obviously, here's the pantry bit that I've done where I've used all of the clutter from the Pierre's pantry pack. Really nice to see that actually being used for what it's intended for once. And again here, plants, quite a big theme in this. I really love this nature sort of vibe right now. Curtains, obviously I've added curtains as well. And again, one of these nice sort of wall pieces, which, I don't know. Do you like these wall things I've done? I'm really obsessed with them. So I hope other people like them as well. I just think they really add something. I've just done them everywhere. It might have been overkill, but I was just like, you know what? This is the theme. This is what I'm doing. I'm going for it. So through this little nature trail area, I've filled the plants out in here. Light switch there. You can turn the light on and off. And through here, I didn't add much. Again, just like plugs and a light switch and things. In the closet, I've added just a couple of boxes up at the top and things, like a washing basket. And in the bedroom again, I've not added a huge amount of clutter. Just some like pegs and a few pieces of clothes, some boxes and things. I could have added more. I could have filled like the whole shelf up, but I just thought, you know what? It's not that necessary, so I'm not going to do it. There's a leaf poking through there. Go away, leaf. Stop showing that my build isn't perfect. Into the bathroom. More leaves poking through. Ah, see, I told you. I tried, but sometimes there's a few things poking through. And then over to the other side in this bathroom. Again, just added a few things. A few little bits and pieces. And with this bedroom as well. Sort of similar things added, but I added sort of like a makeup table and things. Added a bit more to this one. Sort of made this one a little bit more feminine looking. And then this nice little seating area out here as well. I've actually used a bed frame underneath that. But it worked really nice. And then here's the skylight over the study area. I cluttered this one up quite a bit because I just wanted a really cozy study. I think I was imagining myself in the study a bit more than I was imagining myself in other rooms, so I put a bit more effort into cluttering that up. But that's sort of the whole build, really. Gonna go up and outside, see it from aerial view. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be kind to yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, and I also do now have access to the Sims file share. So I will be uploading some tray files of my builds that I'll be able to share with you very soon.